So hi everyone, I'm Eva Sadoun, I'm a French entrepreneur, and I also see myself as an, activist, or I have personal engagement also to transform globally the economy. I'm not only developing my company, but I try to make happen like a real big change in the financial and economic sector. And I'm going to talk to you about something I never talk about actually, but as I just closed my Series B, so my second round of financing of my company, I have a subject that I really want to focus on, and then also can bring us and enlighten us about a global problem our society have about growing, about the growth, and about high growth in the startup world. So I don't know if you remember what happened several weeks ago. This is some clients of the Silicon Valley Bank waiting in front of the bank because they scared about losing their money because the Silicon Valley Bank faced happening bankruptcy. So the Silicon Valley Bank is a bank that's been created to collect the amount of fundraised by the Silicon Valley companies, and they only developed by collecting the money raised by those startups, the tech startups. You know, the tech ecosystem really grow really fast in terms of billions of money collected in the last 3 or 4 years after the pandemic, when it was necessary for everyone to use tech to collaborate, to work, and also this was the year 2020 when startup tech never raised that much money in the world. So the Silicon Valley Bank went from 100 billion to 200 billion money collected. And you know what happened in the early this year? Early this year, the tech startups get some issue to raise more money, and they had to spend the money they already collected. So what happened? The Silicon Valley Bank lost half of its deposit because startups were just like spending money. And as Silicon Valley Bank didn't really diversify its activity and only invested in sovereign share, they faced an issue. They didn't have any liquidity for their entrepreneur to raise the money, and that led to bankruptcy. What is interesting about what happened in the Silicon Valley Bank is basically the financial system is creating a systemic crisis. This is the first thing. But the second thing that we learn about it is that the scale-up startup model, one product market fit, no diversification and scalability and high growth, is maybe not the Holy Grail in terms of development of our company and of our society. This is the size of chicken between 1957 and 2005. What is interesting about that? Actually, the artificial growth of chicken made me think of what happened in the Silicon Valley and globally, what is happening to the global tech narrative. Those chickens were getting bigger, they make them bigger, they create an artificial growth of this chicken to sustain the high growth of the agricultural model in the world. And what does happen? Does this chicken seem healthier or not healthier? Actually, this chicken is dying after 2 months, and this one, it can live for several years. This is just a fun fact, but actually this is not. High growth, it's not good either for chicken, even for society, or for the planet. Because we are human, the planet raised like human, and we cannot fix the model that we want the algorithm to do and applicate it to the people, to the planet, because actually we are people that need to be integrated in our ecosystem and needs to understand how our ecosystem live in order to develop. And you cannot just push a button and make us like going 100% faster. And this is the case study of globally any industry today. You see in the textile industry, we used to have 2 collections a year. Now we have an infinite collection of production, etc. And the impact is really huge in terms of environmental and also social issue. And even the thesis is not really sustainable on an economic level. You know about the Rana Plaza. It's like a fact that is well known today. 2,500 people died in the factory. And globally, the model of fast fashion is also a model that we need to stop if we want to really be aligned in terms of 1.5 degree scenario. So we know that high growth is not good for chicken, it's not good for people, it's not good for our society, and it's not a desirable model. But still, they want us to still be on high growth, even if you are doing impact. And that's what really bothers me today, is that they see that the main problem of the tech industry, of the global industry, is high growth, and still they want us, social startups, to be on the same path. I don't know if you read a really interesting book called by Tom Eisenman about the startup speed trap. It's really interesting in this book, Why Startups Fail. And he analyzed a lot of startup models in different industries and analyzed the reason why high growth is always the moment when the startups start to not finding their path. Why is that? Because first, they grow without really understanding their market, before really understanding how to please their customer, without being really understanding how also to manage a team, etc. And it has a huge impact on the startup ecosystem, and that's the main reason why today we can still see big startups not being financially sustainable, etc. And even in France, our president see the high-growth startup as really a path that we need to follow, even if we see on the economic field that it's not a model that is really great for the future. The problem is not to finance unicorn. The problem is that unicorn today in our country is the goal. They set up goals like 25 unicorn in 2030, 100 unicorn in 2050. But why? Why do we want unicorn? Why do we just set goals like we want to create 1 million jobs by 2050? We want to find solutions that tackle climate change by 2025. And this is still not the goal of our society. And this is really disturbing. And we trying to understand, is it because it's like a patriarchal model that this is something emancipating for men and this is a path we need to follow? And why, even if we analyze the fact that it's not working, we are not managing to take another road. Me personally, even if this is me, I'm not a skyrocket, I'm more a train. I like to move forward, actually. And this is also something that is quite disturbing today. They try to separate the society between people that want to grow, that want to innovate, etc., and the other one, our president called them the Amish during a speech in France last year. I mean, there's also people that want to grow, that want to move forward, but they want to enjoy the view. They want to have a growth that they can see, they want to see the view. And also they want to find a solution that made us move forward, but still that respects our society and people. And this is really how I always describe myself, not as a CEO of a startup, even if we are doing fundraising, even if we are growing, even if we are coming from 50 people to 150, we are trying, I'm trying to see myself and to introduce myself as the chair of the CEO of an SME. Because we are not just trying to develop startups that are going to scale and then with the natural path of exits and to reproduce it ad vitam aeternam. But we are trying to construct, and the startup model can really build a new society based on new indicators. What I wanted to tell you about the train. So two main central points that we are looking when we are developing a social startup, but more social and climate SME, is first to build an inclusive team. Because if you want to do a rocket, you need only rocket people, okay? If you want to collaborate and to create a more inclusive team, you need more time. And diversity is not just something you settle, it's not something you choose, it's something you need to work on. Because yes, working with different vision is not as simple as working with 3 men of your school and with the same vision, the same path, the same education, the same vision of the world. But you're really, when you're working with an inclusive team, you're really building a future that is well for everyone and not letting people on the side. And this is really something that we are trying to create with our growth, with our natural growth, organic growth. And this is one of the main importance of our, the main reason why we are successful today is because of this different skill, different point of view, even if we are still, we need to be better like everyone, but still it's really something really important. And another point that is really not something that startups really focus on, it's the mindful use of money. When there were too much money, there were a problem of allocation. Do you know how much of the fundraising, of the amount of the fundraising were invested directly into Google and Meta? It's 40% of all the money fundraised, sorry. So 40% of the amounts you see fundraised by startups are going directly into marketing ads. So, okay, so it's interesting to make the product well known, but is it the point of the money being only invested in ads? This is the consequences actually of the pressure the management team is facing when their investors trying to put them on the path of high growth. And do you know which percentage they invest in human resources? 30%. So this is the main issue we are trying to face today. If the point is to train people to create new jobs and a new role into the society, doesn't we need to invest in the R&D and the people? Or, I mean, only in ads and marketing? What I wanted to add, I think that's it for this. This is my team. Actually, I should have shown it just a few minutes ago, but it was a little bit cheesy, so I didn't. You can see Céline here because she used to be in the team. So yeah, I wanted to conclude about the fact that this problem that we face in the startup world, the high growth problem, it's a global problem of our society. We developed an economy that only defines itself as an economy that can grow and that depends on fossil fuel. Today, if you want to grow on the economy, you need to spend more fossil fuel. So we need to reinvent the way that we evaluate the company and the way we develop our company. So there will be a phase of degrowth. And I think social startup can help in this phase of degrowth because they develop models that needs less production, that need less resources, that needs less extractivism, because we needed to find new way and reinvent ourselves. So I think startup can really help in this phase of degrowth, and I don't see degrowth as something bad for the society. I see degrowth as something more healthy for the society. Someone that work 4 or 5 days a week, 7 hours a day, is always healthier than someone working his ass off and just burning out every 3 months. And this is interesting because in other countries like Denmark, is this something that is in the center of the society for a long time. I don't know if you know that, but the chair of Denmark had to come to his household by 6. If he doesn't, he seems like someone not healthy. So I think it's the global health of a society that we need to think about. And also, this phase of degrowth can be managed ecologically and socially. If you see the difference between the revenue of people in companies, you can ask yourself, can this company can produce less, but reduce and share better the value. There is a response to degrowth that is really socially helpful for people, but it needs to be the path and what we are expecting to do. And then I hope that we can come to a post-growth society where we don't evaluate as the objective, the percentage of growth and the GDP, but other indicators that more suit to the health of a society. I don't know also if you know that, but in Germany and in America, when you get 1% of GDP, you get -1 or -3 in Germany in terms of life expectancy and bien-être and well-being. So this is something interesting to look for, because when we invent the GDP, when we invented the society of growth, what did we want? We wanted to finance the health system, we wanted to have people that are more sustainable, and we wanted to emancipate people that didn't have money, and this was the model I was taught actually. My parents were from poor families, so capitalism was the path, growth was the path to emancipate ourselves, and what do we realize today? Is that this path actually is more letting us down and more increasing the wealth of the people already wealthy. So this is not a good system for anyone. So we need to launch a cultural battle to present the post-growth system as something more healthy for globally, the society and the environment, so the future of humanity. Thank you.